extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight's Late Edition.
And our meeting was excellent. We covered, somebody would say 95%, I don't know what percent, but we have made a lot of progress on ending that war, which is really certainly the most deadly war since World War II.
Now, President Trump says he expects a peace deal in a few weeks, but warns of a few thorny issues remaining to end the Ukraine-Russia war. Plus, global tributes flood in for French actress, singer and sex symbol Brigitte Bardot, who has died at the age of 91. Of course, we will be talking about the bloodbath that is encapsulating the front pages with my fantastic panel. Linda Jubilee, of course, brilliant journalist, former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards, and comedian and GB News contributor Paul Cox. And it wouldn't be a news show without talking about the biggest story in Britain right now. Nigel Farage from Reform UK and finally the leader of the opposition, Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch, have urged Shabana Mahmood to rescind Alaa Abd El Fattah's citizenship and deport him from the country.
Yeah, we're calling for him to be arrested, for his citizenship to be revoked and for him to be deported back to Egypt.
Welcome to the show. It's going to be a bad few days in the press, I think, for the Prime Minister. Let's go through the front pages for Monday morning. The Daily Mail. Kemi Badenoch, I don't want people who hate our country coming here. The Telegraph, extremists must lose citizenship, Starmer told. The Eye, chemical war fears as Trump and Zelensky seek peace deal. The Express, new care home inspection plans put residents at risk. The Guardian, Ukraine war talks in final stages, says Trump. The Sun, for PT's sake. Mirror, La Belle Bardot. Times, push to strip citizenship from thug hailed by the Prime Minister. And that's where we are going to spend the start of this show with my fantastic panellists here. Linda Jubilee, former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards, and comedian and GB News contributor Paul Cox. Look, I think we have got to start off with the front page of the Telegraph here. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to change my mind. Let's go back to the Times. I was teasing this before the break because in the Times, there are Labour ministers giving quotes to a national newspaper here about the state of the Labour Party, essentially. Let me just read one of them here. Senior Labour MP said Starmer had lost the trust of British Jews. One minister said, it's truly shocking that we've welcomed a racist anti-Semite into our country with open arms. Serious questions need to be asked about the lack of judgment here, and the Home Office should seriously be contemplating stripping him of his British citizenship. There is another quote I will read to you in just a moment, but let me get my panel's thoughts on that. Paul. Which Paul? Oh, I'll go to you.
Yeah, we always have this.
Paul 2. Tweedledee, Tweedledum. So, Paul 1.
Which one's which? Yeah, good point.
I'll let you find that out. Paul Cox. This is very bad news. The Prime Minister has said nothing. We have heard no direct message from the PM. His tweet saying he's delighted that this man is here is still up on X. Truly embarrassing for our country, quite frankly, because this has caught the eyes of the entire world at this point in time. Where is the Prime Minister?
Well, I don't know where he is. I couldn't care less, actually. I mean, this now has got. This is an astonishing story. In any other political year, a story like this would be of the ages. But this year, it feels like, oh. Here's the next chapter. It's absolutely bewildering to me how this guy has got to this point. We were discussing just off air about, why would they give him a passport? God only knows. How have people not noticed his tweets? God only knows. It's either malevolent or thick or both, because it's incredibly destructive to the fabric of our society that on one hand, you've got a Labour government that has essentially arrested 12,000 plus people for tweets, and then on the other hand, one guy who has probably done some of the worst tweets that have ever gone on to Twitter has been given a passport, and not just been given a passport, but every senior cabinet minister has been welcomed with open arms. So what are they telling us with this? That's what I want to know. What are they trying to tell us?
Oh, I think it's the cock-up theory, not the conspiracy theory.
I do hope so.
And I think that's
but they should be out.
Encapsulation, Paul, of the situation so far. And what I think here is that several MPs from different parties have somehow got into this mindset of virtue signalling, of believing that this man is some kind of crusader. They haven't looked back at his tweets, they haven't analysed how venomous and poisonous he is, and they've just misread the situation, and now it's got completely out of hand. But that is terribly, terribly damaging to people in this country who will lose a great deal of confidence over this, most of all British Jews.
Yes. Can I just, on this point of incompetence, and this is where I get a little bit confused. We have spent, well, probably thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of pounds on this man in Egypt. You're telling me at no point in time did a diplomat or someone from the diplomatic office or someone from the Home Office who was tagged in tweets by a foreign secretary, by the way, James cleverly tagged this man in a tweet. So we knew the account existed. The diplomatic office has been spending a lot of time. The Egyptian government, who we've been working with, would have given us all of the information on this bloke. And you're telling me that we didn't know about his tweets and we didn't know what he'd been writing. I think that is selling short the level of cover-up here on this issue, Paul?
Well, those are good journalistic questions to ask, aren't they? Because I return to a theme, which is why was he given a passport by the Conservative government? I genuinely, you know, I've studied politics, I've been in politics, I know a lot about politics. I can't see the politics of this. Why did they think it would expedite his release? Did it allow them to use British resources to get him out? I don't know what the rationale was.
Should I tell you what I think it was, Paul? You can tell me what you think.
Maybe.
I think this was the British government virtue signalling about the Arab Spring, and they looked at this bloke and went, "You're some sort of freedom fighter, and we're going to be on your side." And I don't think they cared what he said.
But it's a Conservative government, so that's not their natural instinct.
Oh, I think it was the last Conservative government's natural instinct, Paul.
But that makes the point, doesn't it, though? This is not an accident. You know, you don't get a British passport by accident.
Of course you don't.
This was fast-tracked by ministers who now are shadow ministers, but they still have to answer for it.
They do. And I was asking, and as I said this earlier on, I give praise to Robert Jenner for coming here last night. No, he would have known he was going to get those questions. I'm sure he was smart enough to know that.
Well,
and at least he had the gall to come and do it. He had the stomach to come and face me.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything from the Leader of the Opposition until she's done a front-page piece on the Daily Mail.
For the Daily Mail. But it does, of course, totally blunt the Conservative attack on this. It gives an absolute free rein to reform, and they are running with this story. But it blunts the Tory attack because they were the ones who gave him the passport in the first place.
But you can say if you were a good leader of the opposition, and what I was saying before the break is if Kemi Badenoch had calculated this correctly, what she would have done yesterday was get online and say, any one of my MPs that has endorsed or advocated for this man to come here, apologise now or have the whip withdrawn from you. And this is the new Conservative Party.
They did apologise, but they did it too late.
Yes.
It's probably Ian Duncan-Smith, Alicia Kearns, they were all too late.
Ian Duncan-Smith signs the letter, and I think a lot of MPs sign letters that they don't necessarily know what they're even talking about. They just do it again, virtue signalling. Oh, yeah, I like this guy, he's a freedom fighter.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a difference between someone advocating for this man to be brought here, and Alicia Kearns' apology doesn't say that he shouldn't be here. He just thinks that he should apologise for what he said,
I know,
and that would be enough. Well, if that's the case, why if Lucy Connolly didn't? If she just apologised, should she have got her out of prison? I don't think that's how the system works, Alicia, and I think there's questions to be answered in the Conservative Party's whip as to where that party stands on this issue.
I mean, apart from the morality of it, there's a total missed opportunity here for the opposition. They really missed the boat here. That's apart from what was morally or ethically right. They didn't put their foot on the gas quickly enough.
Now, what we're seeing here is the continual movement of the political landscape away from a 100-year convention. And this is a metaphor for that for me, because this is why a vacuum has opened up. We've basically got the two-party system, the uni-party, as it's colloquially known now, exposing itself as just that. It thinks and behaves the same way, but just moves slightly differently depending on what the subject matter is. I know that GB News is an outlier on this. I watched the media last night. I got in touch with you today, Alex, and I said that was fantastic reporting last night. It was not reported that way anywhere else. This huge vacuum is created, not only in politics, but in the media sphere as well, where we are now seeing that the convention is totally stuck in the mud. It doesn't know how to tackle these things. We know that there are still thousands, if not millions, of people out there who think this guy should be here. Yes. Because you know, underneath tweets of mine, there are left-wing people saying you've got this entirely wrong. I've got what wrong? I haven't got anything wrong, by the way. All I've done is stand on the shoulder of giants. Many people have done a lot of online journalism, and I've just reported that to my followers. But I've got nothing's wrong. There are hundreds of tweets from 2009, 2010. But at the same time, there are people saying that Nigel Farage should be held accountable for something he said in 1972. So 2010 is positively yesterday by comparison. We have a convention that is fragmenting. This void has opened up, and that's why Reform, the Greens, and others are coming to prominence.
But Paul, why has the Prime Minister not said anything yet?
Well, you'd have to ask him that, wouldn't you? Because I'm not going to be. I'm not being held to account for whether or not he's going to issue a statement.
I'm not blaming you for the Prime Minister not saying. I'm just asking why you think he hasn't said anything yet.
Well, I think that there will be a considered view being put forward tomorrow. in the normal run of things in the business day as the Prime Minister rather than 11 o'clock on a Sunday.
Well, hang on a second.
So
Shabana just put out a major policy today. If they're telling me the government could put out a major policy on visas today, they can't acknowledge and apologise or retract a statement.
I think you will see movement on this story, and I'm hinting at the idea that I think there will probably be a revocation of citizenship and possibly deportation. But that certainly now is actively being considered behind the scenes. But the government will come to its view and take its action in daylight.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that they couldn't do that today, considering the Home Office were able to launch a policy today. They could have...
But that would have been on a grid and prepared and ramped up to, and journalists brief.
We don't want the story without them briefing us.
We do not want government by tweet.
No, I want a government by action.
If they revoke citizenship, though, right? If they revoke citizenship, and that would be the correct, in my view, the correct course of action. That is a hideously large U-turn on doing nothing now this week,
based on new information coming to light, because these tweets were not known about until the journalism that's being described by Paul.
We don't know that they weren't known. We don't know that. We're just assuming they don't know that, aren't we?
I don't think anything will change, by the way, Alex.
No.
I don't think there'll be any deportation. I don't think there'll be any U-turns. I think there'll be more Weasley waffle words.
Don't you think that?
But Starmer's not got it in him. This man is like a jellyfish. There's no bones in that man's body. Certainly not a backbone. I know you would disagree, Paul, and I understand why. It's very difficult. But at the end of the day, he's never demonstrated that he has. He's always come down on the wrong side of the argument. From day one, in July 2024, after Southport, the right-wing bandwagon stuff immediately got off on the wrong foot, and he's never recovered since. And this just shows to the rest of the country he is incapable of dialing into the psyche, the zeitgeist, and being able to talk to the people. Yeah. There must be large swathes of all political persuasions looking at this thinking, how on earth can it happen? How on earth can our government, and by the way, the senior-most cabinet ministers of this government, all tweeting, gushing in unison tweets, welcome home. You've only given a passport in 2021 for political reasons.
It's lacking in empathy. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's a terrible gap between our leaders and what people think in terms of a collective subconsciousness and consciousness. That's the problem. They're just tin-eared and they're not tuned in to the public.
I still, unfortunately for the government, do not buy that nobody in the Foreign Office, the Home Office or the Diplomatic Service had seen this man's Twitter account with all the thousands of pounds, maybe millions, I don't know how much we spent on trying to bring this bloke here. And again, I just don't buy it. I don't buy this incompetence thing. We can't be surely that incompetent. And if we are that incompetent, you know what? You might as well just scrap the whole government and start again with a dictatorship, because it would be at least more effective at this point, because we're not even being run by the people that are elected to lead us. Clearly, if they haven't got the information about one man who we've spent thousands of pounds on, at the bare minimum, hundreds of hours of diplomatic service, and two probably massive joint operations between the Foreign Office and the Home Office, then what have we got? What have we got? Pure and utter incompetence being spent billions of pounds on these ministries who can't even deliver a simple detailing of a man's very public Twitter account, which one foreign secretary even tagged in a tweet. It is insane to me, Paul. Why are we in such a terrible state? And Julia, maybe I should just read you out this other quote quickly from another minister, and you can react to this, Paul. Senior Labour MP said, letting in a thug with a history of rampant anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism crossing the line into terror supporting and calling for the death of all Zionists is ridiculous and bad enough. But after Bondi Beach and the Manchester synagogue attack, then the Prime Minister said he'd do everything to make the Jewish community feel safe. This looks and sounds like a kick in the face. Fatah should be undoubtedly losing his British citizenship.
Just to say that his tweet was, he wrote, there is a critical number of Israelis that we need to kill.
Oh, yeah, we put them all up here last night, Linda. We put every single one of them up here. Labour MPs are going to be in open rebellion if the government don't do something, do you think?
Yeah, and they'd be right to be, which is why I return to the idea that something will happen tomorrow. And I'll be back in a week's time, I guess, to look at this in the wreckage of this in 7 days. And, you know, we'll see what has happened by then. But, I mean, the point about the Jewish community is extremely well made. I think there is an undermining there of trust. over recent events and a fear that Linda described. I mean, most Jewish people I know have got a suitcase packed by the door just in case.
I know.
You know, there is
It is shocking what's going on.
of being under siege and under threat like never before, really, which is why ministers must act. And some of these quotes that are being sort of put into the papers overnight, I think, reflect a deeper truth. You know, so yeah, I think we'll see action on this because there needs to be. And this stuff is just repellent.
Yeah, it just feels like as a country we never learn. We never learn, do we? We always make these kinds of errors. And if we've made an error about a man so public and with so many resources put behind him, and we make that kind of error, imagine the errors we're making with the illegal migrants and maybe even legal migrants coming into this country. If you thought there wasn't a good vetting process for this bloke, oh, well, there's definitely not going to be a good vetting process for these others, is it?
Can I just push back on one thing you said there? Yeah. I don't think we're going to slide into dictatorship over this. I think maybe
well,
that
no,
was a little bit...
I said we should. No, I said we might as well.
Well, that's worse, isn't it?
Well, is it?
We don't want a dictatorship.
Well, no,
we quite like being a parliamentary democracy. You are being hyperbolic.
I'm being hyperbolic for a reason.
One has to be careful.
But, Paul, I'm being hyperbolic because at the end of the day, if people are voting in a democracy that is broken and the civil service, which they spend trillions of pounds propping up...
Well, the answer is more democracy, not less.
Well, I think the answer is more transparency, not more democracy, necessarily. Paul...
It's become pure Animal Farm as a metaphor. You know, in Animal Farm, where they write the rules up and then they change them every other day, and you're supposed to... And you look at the rules going, well, that was different yesterday. Lucy Connolly... The arrests over thousands of arrests over tweets. Then, in the same year, this guy is invited with open arms for doing exactly the same thing. Not something similar, exactly the same thing, but on an industrial scale to the point that he's made an enemy of Egypt. And I don't understand politically what the UK gained from this. I don't understand what the Conservatives were thinking. I've no idea what Labour Party are thinking. Who does? But I have no understanding, really, of... And I've tried to look into this today. A little bit of research. What is the geopolitical benefit of this? There simply isn't one. The only thing I can think of is that... Exactly what everybody has said here. They got carried away with this romantic notion that this guy was this great activist. I mean, look at the celebrities that come out. Always the same. They read from a script. You could write anything on a script and they'd read it out.
Sorry to say, Paul, but we have to wrap it up there. But I also, sorry to say, I think they're morons, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, it is moronic, that's for sure.
A Foreign Office spokesperson has said this. Mr Al-Fattah is a British citizen. It's been a long-standing priority under successive governments to work for his release from detention and to see him reunited with his family in the UK. The government condemns Mr Al-Fattah's historic tweets and considers them to be abhorrent. All right, time for the Great British Giveaway now, and with 2026 just around the corner, imagine having 85 grand to kickstart your new year. Here's all the details.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to splash on anything you can dream of. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. £85,000 is the biggest cash prize we've ever given away. It's totally tax-free, which means that every single penny of it will be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up, get this. The BBC's once again in hot water. Find out more about that just coming up after the break.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, here at Holbrook Animal Rescue, they're being forced to relocate, and if they can't find a suitable alternative, they'll even be at risk of closing. And I've seen the amazing work that they've done here. Just earlier we met a dog called Essie who has just found her almost possible forever home literally in the time that we were here. She only came here a couple of days ago, so it's really great work that they do for all animals. Like this one here, this is Torn, he's just a puppy, and I'm also joined by Laura Santini, who runs the shelter. Tell us a bit about Torn here.
So this is just a little fellow that came in, no fault of his own. The people just couldn't cope with him. So he's lively, and he's a half shepherd, half Labrador.
What kind of impact would the possible relocation or even closure have on dogs like this one and all the other animals you have here?
Well, simply that we wouldn't be able to take them. So if the next one comes up like this and we've got nowhere to go, then we just can't take them, obviously. So what happens to them at that point, I don't know, because we don't just take beautiful pups like this. We take the old and the sick and the dogs that other people don't necessarily want to take. So I can't imagine what would happen to some of them. So I don't know. It's sad. It's just a sad situation.
And you've had quite a lot of support from the community here in trying to relocate. What's been there for you in terms of support?
They're absolutely incredible. They've sent 1,000 letters into the council to try and support us and help us and let everyone see the light that, you know, you do actually need animal sanctuaries around. You can't shut them all down. We're always getting phone calls saying how much people like what we do and hope we get our plan in appeal when it goes through and things like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. I promise you I'll stop ranting now. That story just really's wound me up. I know many of you at home have felt wound up by it too, but we'll move on for the time being. The BBC has been playing a rap song that openly boasts about smuggling drugs into prison. Rapper Nine Goddy's track, First Day Out, celebrating the end of a 7-year prison sentence, was aired on BBC Radio 1's Rap Show on the 29th of November. The lyrics discuss drones sending drugs to HMP Collingly. I think I've said that right, Coldingley. There we go. The rapper, whose real name is Jordan Johnson, was jailed back in 2017 after being caught with firearms and ammunition while out on bail. Sounds like a lovely bloke, doesn't he? I want to get thoughts of my panel on this. Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards, and, of course, Paul Clark's got 2 Pauls with me tonight, haven't I?
2 Pauls.
Let's start with you, Linda. The BBC keep on making these heinous errors. Smuggling drugs in prison is a big problem in Britain. These rappers glorify a lot of these things, which is exceptionally bad for young British kids, especially young black British kids, might I add. And it's been played on BBC Radio on one of the biggest, probably the biggest radio station.
I don't understand it. It's a bit like the rubbish that went on at the festival, you know, where they accidentally broadcast, you know, that dreadful singer, Bob Vylan, and this is just another example. You can't just talk about these things as though they're some kind of cultural accessory that we need to know about. You're quite right. There is a very, very serious problem for young kids in this country, and we ought to be taking it seriously. And things like this simply don't help. In fact, they undermine the situation dreadfully.
Yeah, I think they glorify it. a lot of these
Yeah,
songs.
yeah.
That's what they do, and it makes young kids think that prison is fun and that actually this is a way for you to become famous by going to prison. Then you become a rap star and you can rap about your time in prison.
But they don't seem to learn. It was Glastonbury when that happened.
It was. Yeah.
And then it just all happened.
It's been cleared of all. It's been cleared of all charges just this week.
Oh, that's a whole different thing. Paul, what do you make of it?
Well, I'm a bit conflicted, if I'm absolutely honest. I would have to listen to the lyrics, I think, and just see what they're actually saying. But there are lots of songs that contain lyrics that I don't personally agree with. You know, The Clash had a song called Guns of Brixton 40-odd years ago. That's played on the radio. That's about coming out shooting coppers. You know, so we have had pop music reflecting a politics and a set of social values with which we don't agree. Should it all be censored? Should it all be cut down? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think... I understand where you're coming from, but I think there's a responsibility from the British Broadcasting Corporation to at least bear in mind the glorification of things.
Which is why I said I want to look at the lyrics. I think that's...
I'll try and bring them up, actually, for in a second. What do you make of it, Paul Cox?
Well, we have to compartmentalise these things. Paul's right. I mean, there's pop music, rap music and art and things that go on over here, and then there's establishment media and the establishment that go on over here. What we end up with is this kind of weird establishment idiocy where this is a continuation of a theme. So what we were talking about with Al Fatah and what we're talking about here is a continuation of the same thing. It's sort of this extrapolation of suicidal empathy where they feel like they're virtue signalling the minority in society. These are oppressed people that need a voice. So they extrapolate from that and they just do it to the nth degree. They never know when to stop. So what you end up with is criminals constantly being glorified by the establishment because they're so disconnected from what they're talking about. And they live on this kind of wave of aren't we great? Well, you're not actually, and you're actually a bit thick. And that's where we're coming to now. I'd love to think that some of this was a conspiracy theory because then it could be tackled as a political issue. But when it's stupidity, it's incredibly difficult to fix the problem because those people are always in charge. If they are this stupid that they can allow all these things to continuously happen, then we have no chance whatsoever. And I think if there's going to be any diversity in the future, then it should be of meritocracy. It should be working class people that can fit into the establishment that are able to make these decisions. Because working class people that I know and the people I come from could help these people understand how stupid they are sometimes because they've got common sense.
Yeah, Linda?
Yeah, I think that's you've made a very, very good point. There's a commonality here between these different stories that we've been discussing. And it's kind of like people want to intellectualise the debate.
Yes.
And it's so frustrating because really life's much more simple than that. You should be able to look at these situations and apply some common sense so that you know roughly what's right and what's wrong, what's moral, what's immoral, what's ethical, what's unethical. I can't understand what the problem is.
No, and it's about appropriateness as well. A lot of it's inappropriate. You know, the BBC, essentially taxpayer funded, should represent people and should hold a sort of moral high ground, but it's the moral high ground of a certain group of people. It's not this sort of base Judo-Christian moral high ground that we've all become used to.
That comes to mind. I think there was a song that was Christmas #1 last year that maybe it was #1, maybe it was something near
Don't
in
say
the
it out
charts.
loud.
I'm not going to say the name. I'm not saying the name of the song because I think it's very rude to the Prime Minister and the Labour government. But I believe the BBC refused to play it, actually, which would put into contention whether or not they have a two-tier on exactly what you said.
There's also this weird thing where you hear a song that you know, like Fairy Tale of New York, for example, and somehow a word has been taken out and another word has been put in, which Kirsty MacColl did not sing. So they're kind of censoring songs as they go. It's weird.
On that point, a BBC spokesperson said this: a version of the song was played that had contentious lyrics removed, as is normally the case. Decisions on music are made on a case-by-case basis, and we have strict editorial guidelines in place before any content is broadcast or posted. We do not glamorise violence, and this individual does not feature on any playlists. There you go. All right, well, listen, there's lots more to bring you very, very shortly, including, of course, we'll bring you some more on this developing story on Al Fatah. Kemi Badenoch's come out pretty strong on it. Robert Jenrick yesterday. Nigel Farage has written to the Home Secretary on that. We'll be digging into all of that very shortly.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, here's your latest holiday sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see some unsettled weather across the Mediterranean in the next couple of days, but things quieting down increasingly into next week. As for Monday, some showers across the Canaries, some more general rain across Madeira, fairly unsettled across parts of Spain and the southwest of France. But for central and eastern parts of the Mediterranean, not faring too badly. Bit of a breeze, but in the sunshine, not feeling too bad at all. As for the outlook, well, it stays pretty unsettled on Tuesday, further showers to come, but things quieting down and feeling pleasant in the sunshine next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. High pressure holding on over the next 24 hours or so. There will be a lot of cloud around, but I'm hopeful sunnier skies are expected by Tuesday. In the meantime, high pressure sat to the northwest of the UK, drawing in a lot of cloud from the north and east. So some of us have seen a few brighter breaks today, and as we head through the evening and overnight, it still remains rather cloudy. The cloud thick enough for some light rain and drizzle in places. The clearest skies across parts of Scotland, temperatures here down to -6 or -7 in the countryside. Some thick fog patches developing through the central belt could lead to some tricky travel conditions first thing. Elsewhere, temperatures generally hovering just above freezing, but any clear spells of patchy frost is possible. A weak weather front across northern Scotland, giving some outbreaks of light rain first thing on Monday morning, but elsewhere, sunny start across Scotland. No fog patches through the central belt could lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy for Northern Ireland, much of England and Wales, but the cloud will be broken in places to allow some sunnier breaks, but there'll also be some frost patches around and maybe some fog too. And then as we go through the day, we'll see this weak weather front just introducing the risk of a few showers down eastern parts of Scotland, eventually eastern coasts of England. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud, but again, western areas the cloud could break at times to allow some sunny spells. Quite breezy along the east coast, keeping temperatures here 6 or 7 Celsius generally for most, perhaps up to around 7 or 8 around the coasts, and where the fog lingers it could stay quite cold through the central belt. On Tuesday I'm hopeful there'll be more in the way of sunny spells. Many places dry though, again still the risk of some coastal showers across the UK and still rather chilly. It stays dry and settled into New Year's Eve, but then New Year's Day onwards it's likely to turn colder and a bit more wintry.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight's late edition. In the last hour, peace talks concluded with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Donald Trump at his Mar-a-Lago residence. Well, I'm now delighted to be joined by Chairman of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson. Greg, thank you very much for joining me. What did you make of the press conference between the two leaders? I have to admit, my personal opinion was that we didn't see much change in terms of peace talks, but it does seem that the leaders are on both good form and on good terms.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. They seem like they are in very good terms, and you're right, there was not a lot of new news here. I think they're going to keep that, fairly tight until they get some movement from Putin, and that's the real wild card in this whole drama is Putin. So, I don't think it really helps the cause to have some new announcement of an agreement between the U.S. and Ukraine, or between Trump and Zelensky, when the wild card is Putin for sure.
Yeah, Greg, do you think Putin might have miscalculated here? We talk a lot about Trump miscalculating Putin, but by Trump's own admission when he came to the UK on his state visit here, in his press conference with Keir Starmer, he had openly admitted that he had underestimated Putin. That seems to have pushed Trump far closer to Zelensky over the last few months, was where perhaps before Trump may have been a little bit more sympathetic to Putin's ear on things, and maybe have even forced Zelensky into giving up more territory. Perhaps now Putin has had his sort of stubbornness on this issue has had the opposite effect and made Trump a bit more resilient. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think there's some merit to that, Alex, because it's a shame that Zelensky was willing to cooperate and willing to compromise over the last year since President Trump took office, and yet it's Putin that's been the one that's dragging this thing out, even over the last few days. I mean, on Christmas Day and Boxing Day, he was bombing civilians and killing young children. I mean, it's really sick. So, I think, he's probably lost some credibility with President Trump. And the fact that, Trump and Zelensky are getting along is great. I mean, I guess it's all about the security guarantee. And I think there'll be some pushback on that in the U.S. because nobody wants to see this thing escalate. But on the other hand, Putin's in a bit of a pinch here. He's only in less than 1%, I think 0.75% of Ukraine this year, since January 1. And he just lost a real strategic railway hub in eastern Ukraine, in Kupiansk. I probably butchered the pronunciation, but that's not a good moment for Putin. So he's losing strategic assets and transportation hubs, and so he falls back on bombing civilians, and it's not a good look. And so hopefully there'll be some real pressure on him.
Greg, if you don't mind, I want to get your take on this other story that's caught our eye here. The Trump administration has been accused of blurring the line between the church and the state with overtly religious Christmas messages. Top officials and federal agencies in Trump's administration use their government social media accounts to share explicitly religious messages and declare Jesus, the nation's saviour, during the week of Christmas. Who would have thought it, a Christmas celebration, drawing warnings from First Amendment advocates fearing a critical breach of the church and state firewall. What do you make of those critics, Greg?
It's typical Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, these people are, well, first of all, most of the left is relatively godless, right? So the Democrats hate religion. The only religion they seem to respect is Islam. I'm okay with Islam. I have no problem with Islam. It's just funny that they hate Christianity, they hate Judaism, but for some reason they love climate change and Islam. And so they're just hypocritical on this point. And first of all, they're ignorant too, because the Establishment Clause does not prevent government officials from referencing Jesus Christ or any religion, and you'll see the president talk about other religions as well. The Establishment Clause was of the First Amendment was strictly to prohibit a national church like we have in the United Kingdom, and so that's one of the founding principles of America, that we did not want either the Catholic Church or an official church running government or being part of the government. So no, that's just the Democrats whining about President Trump as usual. It doesn't matter what he does; they're going to have problems with it.
Yeah, I do believe that the President of the United States often says, one nation under God, and God's, is part of the state of America. As far as I understood it, I don't understand why there's so much outrage over simply acknowledging Jesus Christ at a time where we're celebrating his story. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned, Greg. Listen, thank you so much for joining me, Chairman of the Republicans overseas of the UK. Thanks, Greg Swenson, thank you. All right, let me get my thoughts. Get thoughts from my panel. Linda, what do you make of? I mean, we could talk about Ukraine if you fancy. If not, we can talk about this blurring of the line in state and church. What takes your fancy?
Do you know what? I just want to give a little shout out to Bridget Bardell.
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Because she has made the front of every single national newspaper today, and there was something truly iconic about her. I mean, she did have quite a colourful backstory in terms of that she left the cinema, she became an animal activist. She was very, very right-wing, I believe. But she is one of those people that, this year who did we lose? We lost Robert Redford. We lost certain characters, certain Hollywood characters that we just don't see the like of anymore. I think
totally agree.
That Mirror front page, Alex, is absolutely stunning.
It is the best front page. I mean, the best front page.
Really amazing.
I've seen in years.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? And I mean, listen, Bardot was well before my time, so I don't have much recollection of it. Perhaps one of you guys can tell me a little bit more about her.
Oh, that's it. No, she's a bit before my time, really. But the thing is, it's not a question of being...
I'm not saying that, you know...
It's not a question of being before your time. It's like saying, well, Queen Victoria was a bit before my time. She occupies a status in the firmament of stars, of big international stars, that she's like Sophia Loren or Marilyn Monroe.
It's the idea that everything French was cool as well. It's smoking a gouloirs and they're wearing a beret.
Yeah.
You know,
cultural icon.
Yeah, exactly that. And you know,
and Saint-Tropez, she really put Saint-Tropez on the map single-handedly. I mean, she turned what was a fishing village in the 1950s
when you were around here, apparently.
Yeah.
She was a big part of the sexual revolution as well.
Yeah.
Which is easy if you look like Brigitte Bardot. If I started the sexual revolution, then it probably wouldn't have got off the ground.
No, you didn't try.
You say she was right-wing. She was incredibly right-wing. She was arrested a number of times for racial incitement. Her father worked with Marine Le Pen's father, I believe. So there is a right-wing connection. And
so don't you find it so extraordinary that it's the Daily Mirror, you know, the most left-wing of the establishment papers in this country, that has actually given her the best send-off in print?
Well, there you go. Well, I just want to read a couple of viewer comments there. Jack and Henry's... I don't know if I know what that word is at the end there. Alex, why aren't you reading out what your faithful viewers have written in wishing you and yours a very happy and healthy new year? Thank you, Jack and Henry's. John says, and I think you're talking about Bardot here, John, you said a bit like Samantha Fox, Alex, and I kind of, yes, I see what you mean. It's just that I heard much about her. I just have to be honest with you all. I don't lie to you, you know?
I mean, I was a kid of the 80s, which you weren't, obviously, Alex, and Sam Fox obviously featured heavily as part of my psyche as a boy growing up. But there's no way you can compare Samantha Fox with Brigitte Bardot.
I'll tell you one tiny anecdote. When I was I'll be very quick, I was a reporter on the Mail on Sunday, and there was some big film that came out with Nicole Kidman and the very, very famous Married to Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, right? So Lauren Bacall's at the press conference and Nicole Kidman's at the press conference, and they say to Nicole Kidman, they say to Lauren Bacall, how is it working with an icon like Nicole Kidman? And you think, no, mate, you've got that the wrong way round.
They say that to me on this show all the time. What's it like with the icon, Paul Cox? And I go, you know what, just popping it into words.
Oh, thank you.
All right, listen, coming up, Australian tennis player Nick... Oh, I never get his name right. Kyrgios?
I don't.
And then someone will tell it to me and I'll remember it. He at least defeated women's world #1 player Aryna Sabalenka to win the Battle of the Sexes tennis exhibition. Are you surprised? Really? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. We'll see you in a tick.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight on the
unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, Australian tennis player Nick Kyrgios, I got it right, has defeated women's world #1 player Aryna Sabalenka to win the latest Battle of the Sexes tennis exhibition. The match held in Dubai had modified rules where each player was restricted to 1 serve rather than 2, and Sabalenka's side of the court was reduced by 9%. The so-called Battle of the Sexes name borrowed, of course, from a 1973 match when Billie Jean King defeated Bobby Riggs at the Euston Astrodome. Right, what does my panel think of this? Paul, I just think, I think, who was it? One of the famous tennis players of old said that she wouldn't even match up against...
Serena Williams said this.
Serena Williams, I say of old, she's not, of course, she still plays here and there, but she's not one of the top players anymore. Williams even admitted she wouldn't beat one of the top 50 male tennis players.
Yeah, because, I mean, despite the attempt at re-educating us, men have an advantage over women, particularly when it comes to physical sports. Skeletons built differently, our muscle structure's built differently. Essentially, we are better equipped to win. Faster, stronger, paid more.
Paul's crying here. I don't know if you've heard him. He's got tears.
Well, I know. I mean, even the Fabians believe in the difference of sex. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is it Fabian? The Fabians don't believe they believe in the difference of genders. Is that right?
I don't really understand what this tennis match was seeking to prove or disprove. I don't really know, really. But, you know, if Manchester United men's team played Manchester United women's team, the men would win.
You sexist.
Every single time.
Absolute sexist,
100%
Paul. I hope you get
of the time. Well, it's true, isn't it? So what was this all about then? What were they trying to achieve?
Well, I don't know, but I think it's just a fun thing they do.
Right, there you go.
Just a fun thing they do.
I hope they all had fun then.
Yeah.
That's OK, but Paul's absolutely right. And this is what Sharon Davis's continually great point is that once male, so you're fairly equal growing up, once men pass through male puberty, their bone density and their muscle density develops at such a rate that it's almost impossible for women to compete. There are 1 or 2 sports where women can gain an advantage, but there are very, very few.
Tiddlywinks, I think, is something.
Well, I think long distance swimming.
It's not all men and all women.
There
are women that can beat the whatever out of men at various sports because they're very good at that sport. So it's not every single...
Oh, you have to be good at the sport as well. By the way, if I competed with Sharon Davis tomorrow at the swimming, she will win.
Right, OK. Well, listen, Steve's a bit controversial. Steve says, no, mate, the only reason why Sablenka lost is that they changed the rules to only one serve only. Sabi serves at over 190 kilometres an hour, and her style of play is high-risk first serve. If you saw Kyrgios, she ran him ragged.
Yeah, see, strategically, she could have been a better player.
OK.
I'm saying at a stamina level, when you're playing for several hours on a court, it's very hard for women to compete.
Right, well, let's talk about this other story that just briefly before we wrap up with the front pages again. Month-long waits to see a GP swell under Labour. The Times are leading with this story, but the Telegraph are also leading with it as well. Paul, not good news for the Health Secretary Wes Streeting, eh?
No, and this is one of the most important things that the government is going to be judged on, is fixing the NHS so that these long waits for treatment are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I think they would point to, if Wes was here, he would say, well, they've had to contend with a BMA strike, which has obviously thrown the system into some discombobulation. But also, you know, we have just come through a flu season, and I don't think it's been as bad in the NHS as some people feared. And we haven't quite seen those, you know, corridor treatments and the ambulances queuing up outside A&E that were feared. So it's been better than we might have wanted to. We're not out of the woods yet, of course, it's still winter. But the government must fix this, and this is something you'll be judged on.
I think what we're talking about, though, with this story is GPs. And I, from my own experience, know that these waits to see a GP are just getting longer and longer and longer. And sometimes you can't even get to speak to a GP. You deal with what's called a health navigator.
Yes,
who then takes you round through different systems in order to actually negate the fact that you need to see an actual doctor. And now we see these they're assistant physicians coming into play who aren't properly qualified doctors, but they can be assistants, they can administer some healthcare. But I think we're going down a very dangerous path.
My controversial view is that they shouldn't be small businesses, and Aaron Bevan's big mistake was to allow them to be small businesses and not part of the National Health Service as employees.
Okay. Right, Paul, 20 seconds, go.
Well, look, I'm not even sure this is related to party politics. Each government over the last 30 years has struggled with this. They've totally underestimated population growth. They have not looked forward further enough to train doctors. We are in a terrible mess now, and it's going to take a long time to turn around.
Well, there we go. You heard it from us tonight. What a show it's been, eh? Let's go through your front pages one more time together. The Daily Mail. Kemi, I don't want people who hate our country coming here. The Telegraph. Extremists must lose citizenship, Starmer told. The Eye. Chemical warfare as Trump and Zelensky seek peace deal. The Express. New care home inspection plans put residents at risk. The Guardian. Ukraine war talks in final stages, says Trump. The Sun. For PT's sake. The Mirror. La Belle Bardot. The Times. Push to strip citizenship from thug hailed by Prime Minister. Well, that is everything. What a show. Thank you all so much for joining me. Linda, Paul and Paul, thank you very much for tonight. We've got a lot more Alex Armstrong Tonights coming up for you in 2026, would you believe it? And that's all we've got time for here in 2025. I will see you all during the week this week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. High pressure holding on over the next 24 hours or so. There will be a lot of cloud around, but I'm hopeful sunnier skies are expected by Tuesday. In the meantime, high pressure sat to the northwest of the UK, drawing in a lot of cloud from the north and east. So some of us have seen a few brighter breaks today, and as we head through the evening and overnight, it still remains rather cloudy, the cloud thick enough for some light rain and drizzle in places. The clearest skies across parts of Scotland, temperatures here down to -6 or -7 in the countryside. Some thick fog patches developing through the central belt could lead to some tricky travel conditions first thing. Elsewhere, temperatures generally hovering just above freezing, but any clear spells of patchy frost is possible. A weak weather front across northern Scotland, giving some outbreaks of light rain first thing on Monday morning, but elsewhere, sunny start across Scotland. No fog patches through the central belt could lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy for Northern Ireland, much of England and Wales, but the cloud will be broken in places to allow some sunnier breaks, but there'll also be some frost patches around and maybe some fog too. And then as we go through the day, we'll see this weak weather front just introducing the risk of a few showers down eastern parts of Scotland, eventually eastern coasts of England. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud, but again, western areas the cloud could break at times to allow some sunny spells. Quite breezy along the east coast, keeping temperatures here 6 or 7 Celsius generally for most, perhaps up to around 7 or 8 around the coasts, and where the fog lingers it could stay quite cold through the central belt. On Tuesday I'm hopeful there'll be more in the way of sunny spells. Many places